for attending this event. So make sure you are going into your icon tracker and you're recording this event so that this will count towards that certificate before you student teach, okay? Does anybody have any questions about tracking that in icon? If you do, then you can come to my office. Well, I have another meeting right after this, so I won't be here after this session, but anytime you can pop in my office and we can walk through that, okay? Otherwise, this is a really, really hot topic right now on this campus and campuses across the nation, university level, also in K through 12, in terms of captioning video. It's a very important topic and they're going to explain why. So welcome, Dr. Achrazoglou, or I always just say Dr. A.
That's fine.
And Patty Barr.
Hi everybody. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good. Again, I'm John. That's Patty. And we'd like to present captioning. And, oh, that's Patty. I'm John. I'm sorry. All right. But Patty, why don't you go ahead and why don't you start us off on all this?
All right. Well, John is our Chief Technology Officer here in the College of Ed and a faculty member. And I'm the Director of iCater, which is the Iowa Center for Assistive Technology Education and Research. And we are two of the directors here in the N110 area. John and I have presented about this at a couple of national conferences because it is such a big topic about captioning. So I guess I wanted to just ask you, have you ever captioned a video? Okay, you have? Okay. Why did you do it and how did you do it?
Because I actually wear hearing aids, but I've had you guys set it up for me before. So.
All right. Anyone else? So you like captioning because of your hearing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Why else might somebody caption something?
To like go back and look at something, to like maybe like just to kind of look at it again.
Okay. All right. Well, there's a study out there that it's from Gernsbacher, 2015. But they looked at 100 different studies about captioning, and what they found was that can we advance these?
It worked.
There it is. Okay. They found that captioning benefits everybody that uses them. So they found that people, adults that are learning to read, children that are learning to read, people that where English is not their first language, it helps them to understand English because you think about, I kind of thought about that and I was like, why would that help? But I think about some of our students where English is not their first language even here, and you think about somebody from, say, China, and they probably learned English, they learned to write English, just like you and I learned to write English, but they probably learned to speak English from somebody that had a different accent than me. They probably didn't have this Midwestern, U.S. Midwestern accent, which, we always say we don't have an accent at all, right? But think about them learning English from somebody that maybe has a British Mandarin accent. And then they're trying to listen to me. And my accent, when I'm saying stuff, it really doesn't sound anything like that British Mandarin accent person that was talking to them before. But they learn to read it and they learn to write it just like everybody else. So that could really be helpful for some of our students where English is not a second language, or English is their second language. There's other things about captioning that's important. The law requires that we have captioning on anything that's out there that's public. You may have heard about, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but there's legal mandates, and some people are just not really aware of the benefits of what captioning can do for people. Let's go next. Yeah. So let's think about who could benefit from captioning. I mentioned students learning English, people learning to read, whether they're children or adults, people learning to read. It helps to be able to hear what's happening and see the words. It's kind of like the first grade teachers used to call it lap time. but you've got a student on your lap and you're reading to them, you're pointing to the words. If you're adult, you're not going to get that, but you could get that with captioning. Of course, students who are deaf or hard of hearing, that's who we usually think of benefiting from captioning. But students with listening disabilities, think about students that listening it's maybe not their hearing, but maybe there's some processing issue with what is the words and how that's being computed into their head. So there are students with listening disabilities that could benefit from reading instead of just listening. And then students with attention deficit disorder. So if they can have more than one of their senses captured, if you will, to be able to see and read at the same time and hear, so maybe they're not going to be quite as distracted by some of those other things. Attention deficits. And then there are some people that just prefer to read rather than listen. So legal issues around captioning. Section 504 of the Rehab Act of 1973 talks about assistive technology and accessibility. And Section 504 of that act is talks about, it's the first time that they talk about students with disabilities being able to go to school. And I know John's got a lot he wants to say, but 1973, 1975 for the Education While Handicapped Children Act. Americans with Disabilities Act wasn't until 1990, which is basically the Civil Rights Act for people with disabilities to be able to have access to pretty much the world. But I graduated from high school in 1977, and I don't remember many students with disabilities in any of my classes or in my schools. And when I think back to that, they didn't have a right to be in school. So if you had a disability, you didn't have a right to go to school. So people that are my age that have a disability, they may not have had a right. They may not have been able to even go to school. So it's within, that's not very long. I'm not that old. But then IDEA, 1997, and then that's reauthorized in 2004. These are all things that talk about captioning, and then the ADA litigation has been happening. So the ADA is a civil rights law, and it doesn't really say that you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. It says people with disabilities have equal rights of anybody else. That's all really it says. So what people have had to do is they've had to sue about discrimination. So since 2010 on up to today, there are different groups. The Federation for the Blind and some of the blind groups have been advocating and suing for access to accessible information. And now the deaf and hard of hearing organizations are now suing because of lack of captioning. So just recently, Berkeley was sued because some of their information out on their MOOCs, their free online classes, were not captioned. And they're getting sued about that. So it's the rights of students to have this stuff captioned, and we need to do that. Did you have anything else you wanted to say on this?
A big lawsuit out there right now is the Americans Who Are Deaf Association are suing Harvard, MIT, because a lot of their instructional materials are videos nowadays, right? And none of them are captioned. And if you're going after big money, I couldn't think of two other institutions to go after, Harvard and MIT.
MIT, and then Berkeley.
Yeah.
It's like, who's next?
Yeah. Now the Chafee Amendment is an interesting one, Patty, if you want to tell a little about that one.
Yeah, the Chafee Amendment is an amendment to the copyright law that allows schools, so K-12 as well as institutes of higher education, to use things for students to make it accessible for them.
Even
So-
copyright material, we have the right as teachers to go in there and change it so it's accessible. And that would be adding captions to copyright materials.
And so most of the time, people think about that for written things. So it's like, okay, you've got a PDF that is, it's just a picture and you can't use it because you can't make the font bigger, can't change the font. So you can go in and you can change that so that a person that's blind or visually impaired could see that. But there's this lawyer out there in Colorado that has used kind of that same idea of captioning videos. So you've got a video, let's say on the YouTube, and it's not captioned. So you have to ask the person, you know, that provided that, can I caption your video? But if you don't hear back from them, or you need it for your class because you've got a student that really requires it, he's making the argument that between the Chafee Amendment and fair use, which allows us to use that in educational settings, he's making the argument that we should be able to caption those videos. So take them off YouTube, make them into an MP4, and John will talk to you a whole lot more about how we do that, but that we should have the right to caption those videos. So we've been doing a little bit of that. So we wanted to make sure that you kind of knew some of the definitions of captioning. So I'm going to read these. So these are from the National Association for the Deaf. So the process of converting the audio content of a television broadcast, webcast, film, video, CD-ROM, DVD, live event, other production, into text and displaying that on the screen. So all of those different things is what the definition of captioning is. And then they go on to talk about displays that you're supposed to display not only the words, but the textual equivalent of spoken dialogue and narration. So if you see really good captions, you might see when there's music going on in the background, it might say music in the background in parentheses. Or if somebody's singing, you might see musical notes on the edges to indicate that a person is singing. Or you might see laughter so that people know it's...
And sometimes even the voice.
Yeah.
In the background, people congregating around the flag or something like that. And in terms of the gold standard, you got those voice narrations perhaps. But one thing that YouTube and some of the captioning tools can't do, which again is gold standards, is be able to format your captions. So they always contrast with the background, be able to put at different places on the screen so it doesn't interfere with things maybe going on the bottom of the screen.
Let's go on. And then there's a difference between closed captions and open captions and real-time captions. So closed captions are visible, those are the ones that you can turn on and off. So you've been probably in YouTube and you can see the little CC and you can click on that and it'll turn the captions on, or you click it again and it turns them off. Those are closed captions. And then the open captions are the ones that are just, they're there all the time. You can't turn them on or off, they're there. They're embedded into it. And then the real-time captioning, you've probably seen this on like live sports. You've seen, or talk shows. You've got the captioning is going on live. So there's somebody typing what's going on, and they're not always exactly accurate because maybe they heard the wrong word, and sometimes they'll go back and fix them. So those are real-time captions.
Especially with strange names that some ball players might have, like Achrazoglou, you see things. What's amazing to me though is how they type in real time, these court stenographers. Many years ago, we had a deaf student take one of our classes. And to get captioning to her, we had the professor in the front of the classroom and a microphone, and then also she was on the laptop. And what happened, whenever he talked, it actually went to a court stenographer in California, and it came back on the student's laptop. And that was $60 for every 10 minutes to provide that service. So it was pretty expensive. All right, well, this is my part, okay? And
I'll sit down.
Okay, thank you. As Patty said, captioning is a hot topic in education. And a while back, we had a call across campus, hey, let's get together and talk about captioning and best practices and see what everybody's doing across campus. Right now, our policy, and it's changing, is that for outward videos that go out in the world, like sports marketing or institutional marketing, have to be captioned. So outward bound videos have to be captioned, but inward bound videos do not have to be captioned. Things are protected by a password, like icon. So right now, university policy is that it's good to caption, but it's not required for course materials or things hidden behind password. So we thought, trying to put on our universal design for learning caps on, we don't want to wait till we have to do it. We want to build in these kinds of supports into the school experience for all of our students, whether it be inward or outward bound videos. And so again, we had this call out to all campus, and it hit a nerve. We had standing room only. And it was a big room, and we had every academic unit there. Law, business, engineering, education, and university hospitals was there. The computing center sent representatives, even the college or the continuing education that's in charge of distance ed came, and it was really a lively group and lively discussion. One thing that came up was YouTube. It offers a lot of neat tools, and a lot of videos now are distributed off YouTube, but there's a lot of embarrassing examples when it's using its auto captioning. YouTube tries to interpret, one of its features is it tries to interpret what's being said and tries to make captions out of it. And there are some silly, sometimes offensive captions produced that way, okay? And you'll hear it, but my last name, Achrazoglou, is often comes out as awkward coleslaw, okay? And there's some embarrassing ones, sometimes on the verge of obscene, but my advice, and again, you might hear this again later on in my presentation, is if you use the auto captioning, it's getting better and better, and with good audio, it does pretty good, is go back and clean it up. Don't just slap it out there thinking that the auto captioning did a 100% job. It doesn't. But if there's any problems, display it's your problem because you didn't go back there and mop things up. So if you're using auto captioning, make sure you go back and clean things up. That way you can prevent some embarrassment. But in the end, we thought let's look at YouTube and see what it's got available to us. And so we decided, let's get some objectives out there. One of our objectives is to go out there and see what other universities, what other institutions are using when it comes to captioning. And then try to create support materials for those on campus who might be in charge of captioning. The instructional designers, faculty, and staff who might be in charge of adding enhancements, accommodations to course materials. And then one thing Patty and I will make sure is that we go out there and try to find resources for all this stuff. It's not cheap, but there are some neat resources. There's a company called Rev, R-E-V, who will caption for $1 a minute.
They give us SRT files.
Yes.
For
Okay.
$1 a minute.
So $1 a minute. So what they do is you send them the video, and they have somebody type up for $1 a minute, even if there's no voicing going on, it's still $1 a minute, and they send back a text file, like sort of like a worded file, and then you can add that to your video. All right. So Rev is a good resource if you've got money to pay $1 a minute. And in K-12 schools, who usually would have to pay for that? The teachers, okay? It'd be something a lot of schools aren't prepared to pay for, so we try to emphasize any free or very, very low-cost tools. So at this point in our presentation that we've given, I would go in there, log into YouTube, and I have sample videos, and I try to hack in, struggle through, and show you how captioning happens. And my presentation was seen by a handful of instructional designers, and they really, really liked it. It was sort of new to them, didn't know that YouTube had these capabilities. And so they asked me, John, is there some way you can package what you just showed us? Because it's a PowerPoint, some way we can package what you showed us. That way we can review and share with our other colleagues. And so I just did that. You are the first people to see this, and I hope it goes well. And certainly it's a first draft, and there's a lot of changes. And what I've done, so I took my PowerPoint, and I added voiceover, narrated PowerPoint, okay? Each slide, I said what, and I had a script. Okay, I had to be really strict to myself and read from a script. And then what I did, I saved it as an MP4 file with the voiceover, then went into YouTube, and then YouTube imported that really, really well. And then with the captioning tools, I sent my script. And YouTube was able to take, with 100% precision, I didn't have any errors, maybe one or two little ones, but it was able to take what I said on screen and match it to the text file, the Word file I sent to it, all right? And it set the timings is the industry word for what was done. YouTube took what was said and set the timings so it agreed to the text file that was sent up. So usually at this point I'd be hacking around with YouTube and hopefully the bandwidth's here and everything's happening and the computer's not being naughty with not recognizing. This is my USB drive on. So here is a video of what my presentation is that I packaged for these instructional designers. And Evans, you're probably the only one who's ever seen this, okay? Mrs. Evans Ochala, the college's instructional designer. Let me pause for a second. Pause for a second. The first thing you're going to see is what I called earlier, the gold standard of captioning. Voice description with open captions built right in, and this is what I think is what captions should be building towards. So I look for the supreme example, the model we should be striving for at the very beginning. And this is a YouTube video. Again, I've used YouTube as a way to deliver and distribute this presentation. Model that we should work towards. And here's an example from the 25th anniversary of the ADA. A video with accommodations for the deaf and blind, including descriptive audio and text used for captioning that can be formatted differently and placed at different places on the screen. I apologize for the quality of the audio here and there, but hey, we've got captions.
6th, 1990. President George H.W. Bush stands at a podium.
With today's signing of the landmark Americans for Disabilities Act, every man, woman, and child with a disability can now pass through once closed doors into a bright new era of equality, independence, and freedom.
25 years later.
The Americans with Disabilities Act is an integral part of our nation's civil rights journey.
Former White House advisor Claudia Gordon signs. Images feature disability rights marches, a bus painted with the words, "The Road to Freedom," performances by people with disabilities, and museum displays. Words appear at parades, trade shows, on a nationwide bus tour, during rallies, dance performances and marches, and inside a mobile museum, we celebrate the ADA.
So did you notice those audio descriptions? So there was stuff happening and there was a description. So that's for somebody that's blind. So that's another type of, it's not exactly captioning, but you hear what's happening in the picture. So that's what's called audio descriptions.
And even many, many years ago where this was put together, again, captioning was an up-and-coming issue even back then. And I think if you look closely, you'll see somebody holding a sign, "Captioning for All." Ready?
ADA, Daryl Chill Mitchell, disability activist and actor.
The importance of the ADA is very important because it gives people almost a level playing field.
A parade celebrates the ADA. A man uses a wheelchair. Drew Walker, Atlanta.
If the ADA wasn't in place, I wouldn't be able to get around Atlanta because I couldn't get on a bus.
The parade proceeds down a street. Amanda Alford, Atlanta.
My chair can fit under my kitchen sink and bathroom sink for the first time in my entire life.
A banner reads, "Captioning Matters."
Yay.
Jenna Coulter, Louisville, Kentucky.
So in the past 25 years since the ADA has been enacted, when we caption, it seems like everybody that we caption for, we always get emails that are like, "Thank you, you changed my life because I can now go through college because I can information access that I didn't have before.
My next slide. Looking at what others are doing, Gallaudet University is a university for deaf and hard of hearing students. We thought they would be a pretty good model for captioning videos. Here are a couple of examples from a recent graduation ceremony and then a student activities promotion.
Thank you. Please be seated. Our faculty and staff also deserve credit for their support and work with you. They believed in you. They challenged you. And they supported you while you were students to arrive at this day. First, will our faculty please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Please be seated.
Okay, just one thing.
Now,
What are they using? Can you tell? YouTube captioning, okay?
will our staff also please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Please be seated.
This is interesting. So what are captions being used here for? The audio's all the way up. There's nothing being said. Again, this is the University for Deaf and Hard of Hearing. They're used to interpret sign language, right?
For us.
For us.
So what do they call it? People that are.
Oh yeah, and for us with audio dependencies.
That's it.
That's what they call it. One thing we noticed after scouring their site and looking at many examples was that almost every single video used YouTube and its captioning utilities. The way the captions appear is classic YouTube output. Yes, there was no audio on the video featuring the student body president and vice president. Interesting that captioning is often used to interpret sign language for those of us with audio dependencies. Our biggest takeaway was that although it lacks some desirable features, such as being able to format text and control the placement of captions, YouTube should definitely put in the captioning toolbox. We looked at the video technologies we use on campus and created a roadmap to captioning with a series of mini guides. Click on the road to get to our mini guides. Note, we've had great success with a transcription service named Rev. They charge $1 per minute to transcribe, type up what is said on video that then can be applied to captions. Let's look at some of the captioning tools in YouTube. www.youtube.com. To work with YouTube, you will need to establish a Google account to sign into YouTube. Since being acquired by Google, if you already have a Gmail or Google account used for Google Docs, Google Sites, etc., you can use that account name and password to sign in and work on your video in YouTube. You can upload videos directly from your computer, laptop, or device to YouTube using the upload button. YouTube supports a number of video formats. Many times we use the software that comes with our web cameras to produce videos. Saving as or converting to an MP4 file has worked very well. We have also had very good luck using the camera app on iPads and iPhones. Getting to Video Manager is where all the magic happens. Click on My Channel, then Video Manager. Sometimes it is hard to find. This is where you can edit your videos and add captions. Let's look at auto captions. A very recent example was a lesson we made on using smartboards.
Hello, this is John Achrazoglou, and welcome to a tech chat on smartboards. Interactive whiteboards, such as a smartboard, allows
Can you guys see the
teachers
captions
to
towards the bottom?
control a projected presentation by directly touching it, as opposed to sitting behind a computer and using a mouse and a keyboard.
It's not too bad. Auto
A
captions.
smartboard uses much of the same touch-sensitive technologies that tablet PCs, PDAs, and other handheld devices use to recognize where the surface is being touched. You should be able to do everything you normally do on a computer with a mouse or keyboard by directly touching the smartboard. Educators report smartboards motivate.
You'll know that it's auto captioned because there's no punctuation, no periods or capital letters. Something, again, I go back and mop up.
Students and open up new opportunities for engagement, collaborative strategies, and new exciting ways to use technology.
If captions are not appearing for a video, try clicking on the CC button tool within the video itself. To fix naughty captions, click on the CC tool below the video screen. Sometimes it takes a few minutes for auto captions to be processed and appear. Select English, Automatic, Edit, and Overwrite to fix up errors. With good audio, auto captioning does not do a bad job. That's how you fix them. It just shows you all the text, and you just go right in there as clearly as I could and fix everything up. Notice that auto captions does nothing with punctuation. You need to fix stuff like periods and capital letters. We can also have the original audio playing at the same time to help guide us. But I thought having both my narrative and the audio going at the same time may be a bit confusing or annoying. As a side note, I have developed painful arthritic conditions on my index fingers, and not having to type every word is huge. It sort of fills the role of an assistive application. When we finish, we click on Publish Edits to save changes to captions. One thing I might do in version 2 is cut down on some of this editing stuff. I think you get the point once I start doing it. Again, this is the very first time it's really been shown in public.
You can also change the timings on these, so you can just, you can edit the numbers there too.
Just incredible tool. With good audio, and I spoke with the headset microphone, it doesn't do that bad of a job. It would not do good in a classroom setting. We got a lot of other things going on, and you're in the back of the room, and the teacher's in the front of the room, and trying to capture that kind of video. But for these kind of presentations, it does work really well. Okay, and then you click Publish. It updates your captions. Finally, the next time you play the video, your captioning edits should now appear.
Hello, this is John Achrazoglou, and welcome to a tech chat on smartboards. Interactive whiteboards, such as a smartboard, allows teachers and students to control a projected presentation by directly touching it, as opposed to sitting behind a computer and using a mouse and a keyboard. A smartboard uses much of the same touch-sensitive technologies that tablet PCs, PDAs, and other handheld devices use to recognize where the surface is being touched. You should be able to do everything you normally do on a computer with a mouse or keyboard by directly touching the smartboard.
A quick note on security. Clicking on the tool Info and Settings lets you choose the level of security for the video. Unlisted, anyone you give the video URL to can play it, but search engines won't find it. Public lets anyone see it. Private, only accounts you authorize can view it. Save changes. By the way, my thumbnail sketch the video is the Greek Parthenon, which comes up later in the video. Choose the CC tool, which is now on top of the video, to look at other captioning options. If you have a transcript of what was said, you can upload it as a text file and have it converted to captions. You have two options towards uploading a transcript. Upload a file and transcribe in AutoSync. With Transcribe in AutoSync, a box will appear and you can directly paste the text into it. Let's upload my transcript that is, by clicking on Add New Subtitles or CC, English, Upload a File, and selecting the text file. There's my transcript, yep.
It's gotta be a text file.
Yep. The box appears up with the text. Click on Set Timing to synchronize the text and audio. It may take a few minutes for the process to be completed. And one glitch I found was that, what do they call them, apostrophes? If you use a stylized one, it comes up as a weird doohickey character. YouTube does an outstanding job of matching things together. The only hiccup is that apostrophes change to strange graphics, but these are easy to fix. Yeah, just go right here and fix them. It's really Notice the actual timings are indicated next to the text. Again, I can also be listening to the video to help guide proofreading of captions. If you ever need to supply the text and timing code for another application or program, you can download the file under the Actions menu. Finally, the last way to create captions is to type them in as you listen to the video. Click on Add New Subtitles or CC, English, Create New Subtitles or CC. As you listen to the video, you can type into the text entry box. There's even a spell checker. Cool. That's where I need a court stenographer, Patty.
So
The
if I've got a video
captions
that's
appear
just a couple
exactly
minutes,
as
I'll
they
do
would
this.
appear on the video.
But it takes at least double the time.
When you are done with the group of
video
captions,
is
click the plus
2
or
minutes
enter
long.
key for a
It's gonna
new
take you
group.
at least 5 minutes.
It's
And I'm a pretty
easy
good typist.
to pause, listen, and restart the video as you type. You can move the marker to expand or lessen the captioning segment. You know, I'm actually listening to it. And you can expand or shrink it. Maybe there's something going on the screen, like a band's playing, that you don't want the captions covering part of it. So you can stop the captions and then pick them up after that scene or something. Click on Publish when you are finished. Isn't that easy? Yay! And there you have it. Okay. Any comments, questions, or anything you want to add to any of this?